Alright, in this video, I hope to show three fairly basic common amps with three fairly basic common problems and solutions. Just kind of the typical stuff. We're going to start with this Blues Junior, and as you can tell, this one came in, and it is missing the metal hardware here on the plastic input jack, and the plastic input jack threads are all stripped. So the owner asked for a metal jack. I'll be glad to do that. And I'm going to suggest at the very least that he'll also let me cool down the bias, as discussed in many of these. I'm going to play through it to see if there are any other issues other than the obvious one. And notice the jumper wire here on the board from the factory. I see this an awful lot. It's a factory board repair. You'd think that they might cotton on to the fact that their board is problematic and maybe improve that, but they don't. So it's the Blues Junior 1, the Blues Junior 2, the Blues Junior 3, the Blues Junior 4, the Blues Junior 5000, all external cosmetic changes. The actual problems stay the same. But anyway, let's see what it sounds like if I plug into it, if we have signal. A little scratchiness, but nothing major. A little dirt in that pot, that'll clean up. That's neck on a Strat, and it is mega bright. Hearing a ringing. There's a little, that's worrisome. Listen here. That speaker signal's cutting in and out a little bit. Are the terminals tight on the quick connects on the speaker? Sometimes these black plastic molded speaker cables and plugs develop issues. Sometimes it's just dirty contacts. These are not great jacks they use for these. Yeah, it seems to be gone now. I think it was just dirty contacts in that jack. So I will definitely clean and tighten that jack and triple check its solder joints. Other than that, it all seems to be healthy for a Blues Junior. No issue with the filter caps. The screen and grid stoppers are fine. So no heat discoloration. A little attention given to that output jack. I'd like to cool the bias off, clean the volume pot when I pull the board out to change the input jack. And I'll make an option to the owner, to change out the 4 filter caps and beef up the screen grid resistors once I have the board down to change out that jack. Not because I want to charge for more work, but while he has it open, these are very inexpensive parts. It doesn't add much to the time once the board is pulled. Be a better use of his money, but totally his call. So let me move on to the next amp, which is a friend of mine, a very good guitarist, who will probably make more appearances on this channel. He's been on here quite a bit already. Always glad to have him play. Picked up this used Vox AC15 custom C1 with the greenback, locally used. And as it came in, it's got some gaffer tape holding the plastic grills up top in place, and it's missing the rubber feet. And I'll talk to my friend and see if he'd like to get some rubber feet to help with vibrations. But he liked this amp. He was using it. He went to use it at a gig, and I don't remember if he said he dropped it or if it fell over, and he didn't have any sound, so he just ran back to his house and got his Deluxe reverb and used that for the gig, and he asked me to take a look at it, see what went wrong. Well, the first thing I saw when I started this before starting the video is that while the mains fuse is fine, the HT fuse there is open. So I'm going to change that. Notice that the power cable is not plugged in as I change a fuse. And I have verified from chassis to both these points that there is no DC voltage waiting to get me. So I will pull this old fuse out. And indeed, I don't know if you can see it, there's some little spattering discoloration along that wire. So it goes away. A new 250 milliamp slow blow fuse goes in. Now, the question is, was the amp dropped and that that fuse just took a hit? Or is there something wrong with one of the tubes causing that fuse to blow? So now I've plugged it in and I've got my light bulb limiter in place. And I may edit out some waiting times for things to warm up. So if this takes 30 seconds in the video, it may have been 2 minutes in real time for things to warm up. I just don't want to make you watch nothing happening for 2 minutes at a time. I'm going to power it on, and I'm watching my light bulb. Let's take it out of standby. I'm going to watch the current limiter. Oh! I don't know if you saw that, but this power tube just instantly, I'll do it again real fast. Watch right here. So that's what's blowing that HT fuse. So I'm going to take these two tubes out and see how the amp is otherwise. All right, let's power it back on. And if the amp was dropped and had a impact shock, especially with no rubber feet, that could kill one of these JJs. Let's take it out of standby. We're going to watch our friend where it was arcing. No arcing, but there's a bit of a blue glow. That's not necessarily something to worry about. All right, we have sound again. Let me turn the master down so we don't blast out this lav mic. Let me grab a guitar, and I will talk to my friend to see if if he'd like me to do any of my fun things on this besides just diagnose and repair it. All right, let's start with a normal channel. Which is on the bright side in the stock amp. It's not terrible, but it can be made sweeter. And the top boost channel. Make sure the reverb is working. And the tremolo. So, checking the pots for extraneous noise. Well, I think he got himself a good one. So, if, nothing else, a pair of EL84s, a new fuse, and I would recommend some new rubber feet just so it doesn't vibrate oddly on hardwood floors. Anything else I'll talk to him about, which gets in the realm of modding and tweaking. But this was a fairly typical repair for the AC15 Custom Series or the AC30 Custom Series. Things like this happen, and it's really no big deal. It's one of the reasons I think bang for the buck, they're one of the best amps on the market for the average player with the average budget. Of course, that's very genre specific. Our third amp today is this old Fender Deluxe 112 Plus, one of the solid state amps from Fender at the time. I would assume early 90s based on the cosmetics. Maybe it's late 80s. Anyway, owner says the input jacks are acting up. Doesn't really surprise me. And I explained to him that sometimes solid state from this era can cost more to repair than it's worth, but an input jack could be something simple, and I'll be glad to take a look at it. So let's power it on and see what the behavior is. I got a pretty nice buzz with the channel volume off. Not affected by the treble. If I go power amp in, does that go away? No. So that's not the best sign. Let's see what it sounds like. And there's a higher noise floor as soon as something is plugged in. And definitely have a broken solder joint somewhere in this area. Well, that's not too promising, but it could be some very simple solder joints. Let's open this up and see how it's constructed and whether that's going to be a cost-effective repair. And while I get this changed over to show you that, I'm going to look up the use value of this model so I know whether I should stop at some point. All right, I looked it up. Early 90s, 1994, Fender MIC. These go from between $250 and $350 used, and it seems to be pretty straightforward construction. If I don't have to do anything heroic about those heat sinks, I should be able to do this in 2 hours or less. So I'm going to see what kind of miracle I can work on this, and hopefully the guy will have a good sounding amp for a good long while. The electrolytics all seem okay. So I'm not seeing a problem yet. I think it's probably just some dirty pots and broken solder joints, which are not uncommon. So stay tuned for the next thing you see. Well, that came out without any major issue. They got these standard crappy jacks with the 9 pins that they use on almost everything. Standard pots they use on almost everything. And almost every one of these solder joints is either broken or has a stress ring showing that it's midway through breaking. So I'm just going to reflow all these things and clean the pots and see what that buys us. It's a little frustrating working on amps like this because I can't do something and then hear to see if it fixed it, until it's all the way put back together with all the connections made to the transformers, etc. It's just really difficult to, I can't test it in this state without rigging out something very complicated, which would exceed the value of the amp to do. So fingers crossed that reflowing everything and cleaning everything gets it back. Well, the rushing water sound in the background is because my wife is about to bathe the dog. So it's not in the amp. So I got all those solder joints reflowed and all the pots cleaned. I had to clean them about 3 times. And now I don't have the reverb tank hooked up, but see if I play that contour, make it kind of on the nasty bright side. Good news for the owner.